Hello everyone, so I want to make a quick video on how to unfold characters or do your UVing work inside of ZBrush. And normally I wouldn't necessarily recommend using, maybe a sculpting application for something like this, but since ZBrush 4 came out, it's very quickly in my personal pipeline become the fastest tool that I've ever used. A lot of people are not that, don't spend a lot of time on kind of investigating the fastest way to do UV work. I've done some other videos on creating UVs in Maya. I personally know 5 professional unfolding applications, like Hedis, which is quite old at this point, Unfold 3D, which is a phenomenal application for unfolding. It's also about $1,000. That's a pretty amazing application. But even this, ZBrush has, I will open up ZBrush just to unfold something that I've modeled in Maya now. There's nothing faster. And the algorithm is fantastic. Actually, it's way better than Max. It's better than Maya, and it's definitely part of my pipeline now, even if I didn't create something inside of ZBrush. Now this is Sid, the turtle. He's one of my favorite little characters that I did really quick one day, and he's kind of always, I'm using him for demos and stuff quite a bit. He's a pretty simple character, but I want to just go over the process of how you would very, very quickly, and by quick I mean in, let's say, 3 minutes, unfold this character. So the first thing you want to do, I assume you know how to make polygroups. Making polygroups is essential. Each polygroup is basically a UV island or UV shell, depending on what terminology you use. I'm not going to go over how to make polygroups. It's pretty basic, but you should have individual polygroups based on where you want your UV islands to be, which I've already done this. And you can do this in Maya or Max. And you can also do it manually inside of ZBrush. Once you've designated those UV islands, we're going to open up our, actually let me turn my paint off on this guy. So there he is, he's naked, he's got nothing. First thing we want to do is go into our Z plugin, pop it over to the right hand side. By default, probably everything will be closed. I want to open UV Master. And now without doing anything, I actually, on a lot of meshes, you can just press unwrap and see what it's going to do for you. Now this is something that I made inside of ZBrush. It has different layers, and it also has different geometry levels. So the first thing I need to do is say work on clone. Basically when I press work on clone, that's going to get rid of all the extra unnecessary things that it doesn't need. After all, I do not want to unfold a 5 million polygon character. I want to do it to the base mesh. So the first thing you need to do is say work on clone. And that's going to do a couple things. It's going to spit this out for you. Again, let me just turn off my paint. It's going to spit out the base resolution mesh for you. And here it is, and it retained the polygroups that we had previously assigned. Now, really easily, if I want, let's just to give you an example, I will press unwrap. You have two really quick options. You have symmetry, which I'm going to go ahead and keep that depressed, and polygroups. Now I have polygroups. It's basically asking me, do you want to keep the polygroup assignments? Yes, I do want to keep those. Each one of those is going to be its own UV island. Now with me doing nothing, I'm not going to set any seams or do anything. I'm just going to say unwrap. And it's done very quickly. You might not have even seen it, but a little orange bar shot across the top. Now once I want to see what my UVs look like, I'm going to press flatten. And there we go. This is actually a 3D view. I can rotate these. So without me doing anything, let's unflatten this now. And I just want to show you what this spat out. Let me load a texture. Here's our texture. So that was 15 seconds of work. We have a fully UV'd character as well as UV islands. Now let's say we don't like what it automatically chose. This is a very symmetrical character. It's got very big, fat, basic shapes. This isn't necessarily indicative of a complicated character that you might want to do. So let's say it chose to put UV seams in locations you did not want, and you wanted to fix that. First of all, if you want to actually view your UV seams, yes, you can press flatten and view its result. I'm going to press unflatten to come back. But also I can say check seams, and you'll notice right here I can say check seams, and it'll show me where it chose to cut my character. And I can uncheck that. Now let's say I didn't like that. Let's say I want to manually do that. So to manually create my seams, and this is why this is really, really fast. Very, very quickly, I'm just going to press Enable Control Painting, and then I have three options. I can erase, attract, or protect. Usually I just say protect, and it's just the areas that I want to protect. And all I'm saying to ZBrush is, I don't want you to put a seam anywhere on this guy's face, because the face is important. And you don't have to be specific about this either. And maybe I want to protect the body. Let me turn off my floor really quick. I don't care about his back because that's where the shell is going to be. So I'm going to press Attract, and I'm going to attract a seam here. And now again, I don't need to be very specific with this. I can just very quickly put these strokes. And now I know I want seams on the inside of the legs, so I'll just press this somewhere close. And likewise with the back leg. Done. Essentially what I've done is just create all of my UV seams. And now I'm going to press Unwrap again. It's done. I'm going to press Flatten. Now it gave me a different result. And this is the result that I wanted. Let's press Unflatten. Turn my texture on, and there we go. Now, there are times where ZBrush might disagree with you. You say, I want to protect this, and it will choose to put a seam there anyway. Listen to the program when it tells you that, because it's basically telling you this is not the best place to do this. You're not unfolding it right, and I'm going to kind of override your decision. It's going to make its best attempt to do what you've asked it to do. But if you make a bad decision, it'll still sometimes put something. There we go. It'll sometimes put a seam where you've not asked it to go. So, okay, I said protect the face, which it did. I said protect the belly, which it did. I asked for seams to be put on the inside of the legs, which it did, and I asked for a seam to be put along the back. Now, what I did not ask it to do was put a horizontal seam across its butt. It chose to do that, but it also did 90% of the other things that I asked it to do. I'm very happy with this. This character is done. Now I'm going to copy the UVs. I'm going to go to my high-res sculpt of Sid, and I'm going to press Paste UVs. And he is done. Let me just turn off colorize. So I've basically just pasted the UVs onto the high-res sculpt now, and I can continue on with my life. And just to prove, you know, of course, that yes, it does work, let me step down to my base level, and I'm going to press Go Z to go into Maya. Continue. Here's my turtle. Here's my UVs. Everything's symmetrical. It's perfect. Any very easy basic UV manipulation can still be done in Maya if you choose to. And you are done. Okay, so let's do something a little bit more complicated and change our workflow just a bit, which is probably the second type of workflow that you would have. The first one, which where we used Sid the Turtle, that was a ZBrush workflow where I've lived and died inside of ZBrush, and I kind of only used Maya once I was done. Now let's say you've lived inside of Maya, and now you're at a point where you need to UV. This is something I sculpted and retopoed. It's asymmetrical, there's more polygons, it's quite a bit more complicated. I've just simply applied a planar map to this guy. Now all I want to do in Maya, and in terms of getting this ready, which you do not have to do by the way, I can designate polygroups inside of ZBrush, but I don't think that that's the fastest way to do it. Given the amount of polygons and trying to select edge loops and stuff can be difficult, you know, like under the armpit and everything. So we'll just do it really quickly in here. Just through the use of a couple hotkeys, or maybe you can double click your edge loops. I'm going to select my edge loops, and I'm going to press this little scissor image here, which is cut. And you know what, let me turn something on really quick. Make sure you guys can see my seams. There we go. So I've created a UV seam here. And now I'm just going to repeat this process. Anywhere that I want to